How many of you, if given the choice, would rather receive an A on an exam or would you want a low B? What if I told you this is possible if you actually stop doing something? It sounds easy, but I know for some this is going to be absolutely non-negotiable. What I'm talking about today is our cell phones. We all love them. I even love them, trust me. But I know some of you from this point on are going to block out everything I have to say because you think it doesn't matter, or you think that it's your phone, why should I tell you what to do with it? I get it. But today, very little of this speech will be built on my own opinion. Its basis is built on studies and research that prove that when a student is distracted by their cell phone in class, it directly affects their ability to learn. A study done at the University of Nebraska surveyed 6 universities in Midwest America, and of all those schools, 92% of the students said that they use their phones to text in class. This directly shows how this is a problem. When cell phones are used in a classroom for non-classroom related activities, it can affect far more than just yourself. Today I'm going to talk about how it negatively affects a student's information retention, note-taking, and test-taking, along with distracting those around you in the class and the professor themselves. There are even financial repercussions that you may not often think about. I will also be discussing the myth of multitasking. First, you may not believe that your use of cell phones impacts your learning, but you're wrong. Several studies have shown that texting and the use of phones can be directly linked to a student's ability to retain the information of a lecture, in turn resulting in a decreased ability to perform well on an exam. A specific study done by Jeffrey H. Kuznikoff, who has a PhD from Ohio University and is now a professor there, he tested 3 groups of students ranging in the age from 18 to 22, and the mean GPA of these students was 3.33. Making sure to take age, GPA, and year of school in consideration, there was no significant difference between the participants. The first group, the control group, had no phone use during the exercise. The second, low frequency, had a small amount of phone distraction, while the third, high frequency, had almost constant phone distraction. They then watched a 12-minute lecture while taking notes, and after given a short time to review their own notes, about 3 minutes, they were given a multiple choice exam, just a short one, and from the info they learned on the lecture. The results show that between the control group and the high frequency group, there was an average of a 13% difference. This is equal to about a letter grade and a half difference between the 10.5 control group and the 8.43 control group. That's versus an A or a low B. And there have also been other studies showing that an even higher difference, some even 27% difference between the two. That's nearly double 13%. There's a clear difference with distraction. Secondly, many believe that when you're on your phone, it may only be affecting you, but in fact that's false. Surveys have been done asking college students across the country this exact question. According to Tamara Brenner, an interim managing director at the Derek Fox Center for Teaching and Learning at Harvard, surveys reflect that when one student is on their phone, the students around the said person become distracted, if not more. Professors themselves even have expressed how distracting a student not paying attention while on their phone can be to them as they're leading class. When a student is using their phone during class, they may be thinking about how multitasking can play into their self-assumed ability to listen to a lecture while texting one of their friends. But in fact, multitasking is physically impossible for our brain. What we have conceived as multitasking is in fact our brain switching between 2 activities at an astonishing speed. According to neuroscientist Earl Miller, who is also a professor of neuroscience at MIT, you are not paying attention to 1 or 2 things simultaneously, but switching between them very rapidly. When it comes to phone use and classroom information, this can be especially true. When texting and listening to a lecture, both are competing for the same part of the brain, the part that deals with language. Miller uses the example of talking on the phone and writing an email. Texting in the classroom can pose the same problem. The 2 tasks both involve communication, whether it be through the written word or via speech. There is conflict. Not only does phone use during class potentially greatly affect your overall performance, while doing so, you are taking advantage of the tens of thousands of dollars that, if not you, someone else has paid for to attend the classes you're taking for granted. To find out exactly how much may be, in a sense, thrown away if one does not make a class worth it, I took it upon myself to do the math. I tried my best to calculate the average student's credit hours and class period lengths. I gave the average student 15 credit hours. This is kind of the minimum you need to graduate Hesston. And then I took the tuition of this year's at Hesston into consideration. This is before any additional fees like room and board or anything. So knowing class times can vary, I made 3 classes 50 minutes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then 2 classes 75 minutes on Tuesday, Thursday. And after calculating this, I found that an average 50-minute class is spent with $53. That makes it about just over $1 a minute that's being spent on your education. And additionally, I took it a step further and I looked at over 2 years at Hesston, this is how many hours about that someone would be sitting in class. Overall, phone use within the classroom can greatly affect your retention and education. Even with our beliefs in multitasking, we as students can receive lower grades and also impact those around us as well. In conclusion, I'm not telling you to never use your phones, but in class, you have the choice of whether you want to risk precious minutes of your education just to send a text, or you can take full advantage of this opportunity of higher education that many aren't even lucky enough to have. In the end, it's your choice. You have the power over whether or not these thousands of hours sitting in class, a simple action like paying attention and putting your phones away may not solve everything, but it will point you in the right direction to learn concepts, beliefs, facts, and stories that you can only find in the classes you're taking right now.